All right, so this is absolutely crazy. In the last 24 hours, President Trump, the White House, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has begun Operation Economic Outcast. Now, not a lot of people are talking about the ramifications and implications of this. So in this video, I want to go over some clips of what he said and also look through what this may mean as we move forward and the significance of this moment. Let's get into it. All right, now listen to the beginning of his speech as he begins to introduce what this is.
Today, at President Trump's direction, the United States Treasury has begun Operation Economic Outcast, an unprecedented campaign against the Islamic Republic of Iran and its enablers. In the Second World War, D-Day marked the historic beginning of a campaign with our allies to target and drive the enemy from its positions, including those in third countries. Today, in that same spirit, we are launching an economic onslaught against Iran's financial connections around the globe. Our objective is to sever every economic lifeline that sustains this tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone. Iran's fanatics devote themselves to death to America and seek nuclear weapons to do just that. They have murdered and maimed more of our citizens and service members than any other terrorist regime on earth. And they have been at war against America, their neighbors in the Gulf, and much of the world for 47 years. President Trump has taken action that his predecessors have long deferred. And under his leadership, America is no longer managing the Iranian threat. We are ending it. Our great armed forces have laid the groundwork for achieving the President's objective of preventing Iran from ever obtaining nuclear weapons. They have shown America's resolve to finally end this threat. And the strength of America's economy under President Trump allows us to wage this sustained financial operation alongside the might of our military. Iran now faces a very clear choice with only two paths before them: complete global isolation and a subsistence economy, or a path back to normalcy with an opportunity to rejoin the global economy. Today, we are launching Operation Economic Outcast to foreclose every other option available to the Iranian regime. Treasury has mapped every node, every facilitator, and every network that Iran has used to smuggle oil and evade sanctions. Beginning today, the actions of Treasury and other agencies will tighten the noose and block every potential source of revenue that funds the IRGC and the evil Iranian regime. We are enforcing a zero leakage approach. There will be no minimal breathing space for the regime to rebuild its capacity to inflict terror against America and the world. The final refuge of this regime is the mistaken conclusion of nations that still finance the Iranian threat in the hopes of evading it. It is no longer acceptable to operate in the gray spaces of this conflict. Countries cannot claim they are blind to enabling this activity. Iran's enablers purchase, transport its petroleum. They facilitate the flow of its finances through exchange houses and free trade zones. They welcome Iran's flights and maintain registries on its behalf. They turn a blind eye to seaborne fuel transfers and overland transits. They condone illicit use of their banks, all the while concealing the extent of their complicity. The President is making phone calls to world leaders with specific requests to cease their interactions with the regime. We are already seeing results. Over the weekend, comments from Iranian leadership clearly acknowledged the effect of this campaign, and nations that facilitate any interactions with the regime should quickly heed our message. Those who stand with the United States will reap the rewards of our partnership. Those who tether themselves to the Iranian regime should expect to share in the isolation of a withering regime. Teams from Treasury, state, and the U.S. military are now meeting with their global counterparts to tell them that the United States expects action. Every country has a defined timeline to shut down activities we have identified. If they do not take action, we will do so unilaterally through Treasury authorities. For example, every branch of Bank Melee must be shuttered and dark. And let me be clear, any entity that facilitates money laundering on behalf of Iran will be removed from the US dollar system. The clock just started ticking.
Now, the world is looking at that and saying, oh, it's Iran and its enablers and leaders. But we are looking at this from an Anon perspective as this targeting the deep state stronghold. Iran and the public optics part of it is what is at play here, and it's logical, it's digestible from the public's perspective. But we know that it is a tactic to choke off and to restrict the deep state money laundering and the deep state money flow. And this is only one part of what is basically this tentacle, deep-rooted system to target the enablers and those that are basically helping the deep state regime, not just Iran, but other people. And he mentioned there that there are two paths. They can come back to be part of society, or they can go down this other road, a global isolation or path back to normalcy. And so this is not about the Iranian people and all that. It's about the IRGC, the enablers, and those behind them. And this is a secret, coded, in some sense, message. But it's very important here what they're doing. They are now tackling the money, the finances, and the flow of the resources, the oil, the energy, and all of that stuff. And remember, he's targeting other countries, other nations, other regimes, not just in Iran, because there is something happening at a global scale from a deep state, federal banking, Rothschild, or whatever family you want to enter and name in as part of this, the Soros, all of these people, they are targeting them. And this is only a excuse, or in some sense a front, not necessarily that Iran doesn't matter. Of course they matter, and they're being targeted as well because of that network, but it's something else, and they're being very blunt about it, meaning President Trump and Bassett. Now listen also to what he says here about a major financial institution.
We speak that you will see a wave of sanctions when you leave this meeting today, and you should expect that cadence to continue. And I would expect that you will see a major announcement of a financial institution being sanctioned by the end of this week.
Now, who is it? Which big banking institution, or whatever it is, whether it's U.S.-based or not, this is a big issue. Now, apparently there's major panic erupting in Iran. Huge gas lines are forming across the country as President Trump and Scott Bassett choke off the regime from the world, and gas shortages are causing massive problems. So a lot of what's being shown on the outside is gas and supply of certain goods, but there's other stuff. This is what Q and many others have talked about as being rescuing, whether it's some nefarious activity or other things, but freeing the people back to the freedom or the state they were in before the control of the deep state over that nation or that people group. And then, as he mentioned in his speech, this is historic because just like D-Day and the Second World War, what happened then was absolutely big. And it is that significant what is being done right now. And not a lot of people are talking about it. So let's see what happens from a financial perspective, because this is more than boots on the ground, soldiers fighting and shooting bullets and all that. But there's other ways with the advent of internet, financial, digital economy, all of that stuff. This is another type of warfare. There's psychological warfare, there's financial warfare, there's digital warfare, and this is what we are seeing, and it's going to starve, it's going to choke the deep state. This is the point of what this whole thing is about. Now, let's see what happens as we move forward, but I just want to share with you guys the significance of this because people are reporting on it. They're saying and repeating certain things, but feel free to watch the whole speech. I think it's like 17 minutes long, but just want to give you guys the quick update on showing this because more is coming, and let's see how it plays out. Love you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.